Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Blue Wheels E-commerce Exchange, where we chat all things e-com and current trends that are happening in the industry today. Today, we are chatting with our Director of Marketplace Advertising, Whitney Weaver, and we're talking about all things Amazon DSP. What's new about it, what is changing, and how brands can leverage those updates to drive better results. So, Whitney, thank you for joining today.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, I want to start with just DSP overall in the last 12 months, right? So Amazon DSP has been around for years. I would say like at least 5, maybe more years, but I would say in the last 12 months, it's really elevated in the sense of the tools that are available and how we are able to leverage those for brands. So can you talk a little bit about what some of those are and what you're most excited about?
Absolutely. So last year, Amazon made a big update to the user interface of the DSP, just making it more user friendly and being able to set goals and different viewpoints in order to do the tracking of the performance much easier, instead of having to download reports and go through it that way. So that has been really helpful for the teams that are buying and checking in on the media. But they've also rolled out a lot of really cool new features like Performance Plus, Brand Plus, which leverages AI to understand shopper signals to determine their intent and where they are in the customer journey. And then it's serving ads at key moments when they're more likely to convert or engage, depending on what the goal of the campaign is. And I don't think we can talk about DSP without mentioning AMC. And so Amazon has done a lot with AMC over the last, 12 to 16 months, and really bringing it to the masses. Before you had to be a SQL master to put everything together, but they've created some really great templates to allow for no code reporting as well as audience creation. So there's just a lot more tools and a lot of different things we can try out on the DSP now. And additionally, just Amazon's capabilities across the DSP in terms of where it can show up, the inventory that we can buy across display as well as streaming. They're really investing a lot in making their DSP a full programmatic suite, not just for Amazon, but for all brands, whether they sell on Amazon or not.
Can you explain AMC just a little bit more, like what it stands for, and then like the basics of why AMC partners well with the DSP?
Absolutely. So AMC, it stands for Amazon Marketing Cloud, and what it is a data clean room. And so it's bringing all of the shopper data into one place, basically erasing any identifiable features, emails, addresses, things like that, and just looking at the actions that they're taking. And so that then allows us as advertisers to understand better what are those touch points that are most impactful to converting sales or whatever goal we're working towards. And so, especially on Amazon, because when we're looking at advertising, it is last touch attribution. AMC allows us to see all of those different touch points that happen and make audiences off of them, make better decisions about where we're putting our budget, things like that.
Got it. So let's say that a customer is going through, the funnel and they start with a streaming ad through DSP, then they're hit with a sponsored brand ad on platform, then they're hit with retargeting, a retargeting ad through Amazon display, right? And then they go to search for brand, hit a sponsored product ad, and then purchase. With last touch, the sale gets only attributed to that sponsored product ad, but you don't know all of the other touch points that happened before that last click. So AMC is kind of pulling all of that together.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if you're just looking at sponsored products, it looks like this is the star and like everything else might not be pulling its weight, but really it's influencing that ultimate sale. Yep.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I mean, on the search side, obviously, sponsored product ads is by far it has the most real estate, the most inventory. Typically, it sees the highest conversion. The CPCs are also usually typically fairly high, especially for first page. And we think that's kind of like the end all be all. But what we're probably not recognizing a whole ton of is the power of those ads before they get to that spot.
Exactly. And so it can help us like justify that final click being a little bit more expensive, especially if we think about those products that are higher price points, longer purchase cycles, it might be, a $5 click, but we spent $10 in total to get that conversion. And for a $200 product, that's not a bad CPA.
Yep. Have you compared like sponsored product ad conversion rates as a standalone versus sponsored product ads when it's partnered with all the other ad types?
Yes, so you can see that in the AMC reporting. It'll show like what combination of touch points had the highest return, conversion rate, new to brand. So there's definitely a lot of things within the AMC reporting that can help us show the difference between what that conversion rate looks like on just sponsored products versus multiple touch points.
Cool. So I know with the ads that we just went through, it's, and like you said, with even the sequels that potentially you used to be able to run, and there's still a bit of that. A lot of this is like an advertiser's dream, but not the best to really communicate to the brands who aren't in this every day, right? So in kind of a little bit more simple terms, why should the brands care about this more today than they have in the past?
Yeah. So ultimately, the barrier to entry for DSP and AMC is much lower now than it has been in previous years. Previously, you needed a data science team and these additional resources spending a lot on DSP in order to get the benefits of what's available on DSP and AMC. But now with these changes, it's really allowing advertisers with smaller budgets or who thought they didn't have enough to invest in that to take advantage of some of these features across the DSP and AMC. And it really just makes the advertising dollars go further because we can get really particular about the audiences that we're targeting on DSP. So you don't need, $100,000 each month to test it. You can start smaller, be really specific about who you're targeting, and then continue to test from there. And then it just, with these updates around the signals, in terms of like how shoppers are interacting, it really focuses on that intent versus like, say, demographic data. So we want to know like what people are doing and why they're doing it instead of like, this large group of people tend to do this. We can actually better track what they're doing and how to best, serve them the advertising or the information they might need to convert.
Got it. There was in the beginning when DSP first came out, it was, hey, you need at least 15,000 in spend to make it effective. And I think at the time, this is many years ago, like cost per clicks were still low enough where a lot of the brands, and even for us as the agency, it's like, I don't know if it really matters yet. But now when you're thinking about sponsored product ads, sometimes cost per clicks being $6 a click, like it makes more sense to drive the awareness upper funnel first to then capture the sale and make sure you're getting as much conversion as possible when you do drive that cost once they get to the site. So do you have a feeling on, like, I know we talk a lot with our brands about the split between DSP and search and when you should be thinking about switching them around within each of the funnel, but then even the campaigns in itself. What's been kind of your approach in the last couple of months about, let's say it's a well-known brand doing a new product launch. What type of things have you seen work between the two platforms and then tying that together through AMC?
So if we're thinking about a brand who's well-known and they're launching a new product, whether it's within the category that they're currently in or maybe category adjacent, we see this a lot in beauty, whether it's cosmetics to fragrance or hair care to fragrance or vice versa. And so what we would want to, or in those situations, if they have the brand awareness already, just getting that awareness about this is new, like look at what we're doing, that's going to be key to get it really moving off the ground. Reviews, like, while they're important, with a well-known brand, if people really know the brand already, it's not going to be as necessary, I guess, to launch a new product. So that's where DSP can come in and we can use those awareness and consideration tactics. We can leverage AMC to find high intent or high value customers as well. We can also look at things like customer lifetime value. So if they if we are able to bring new customers in with this new product in this new category, what does that look like over time for them as well? So there's a plethora of things that can work in combination. I think the biggest thing, and I'll say it to all my brands, all my team, is like it comes down to those goals. Like, what are you really looking to achieve? And let's break those down and make sure we have the right combination of tactics and approaches to reach
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost a complete flip about the way that we think about launching new products, right?
Yeah.
Because before it was, hey, get, as you mentioned, get the PDP live, get it optimized, get a little bit of traction, right? All
Mm-hmm.
search at that point, whether it's non-branded or branded. And it worked better because again, you didn't have the I want to say private label brands weren't as saturated as they are now, right? So
Right.
when people are looking for a thing and not a brand, it's really hard to compete because the cost per clicks for those non-branded terms have just kind of have skyrocketed, right? So going the
Yeah.
opposite way and thinking about Amazon in a more traditional marketing sense of forget, the beginning of trying to find the PDP, let's drive the awareness first, then get them to the page and then make sure they have a good experience there. Like it's completely different than what we had done on Amazon previously. I don't think it's that different to like how brands launch products on D2C or in other traditional retail
Right.
media markets, but it is a big flip for Amazon. And it's kind of like a necessary evil now because of the cost to serve on Amazon is so much more expensive than it used to be.
Yeah. And I would even, encourage brands and advertisers to look at what is that cost to get someone to a page. So we focus on CPCs a lot because that's very search based, but could you run a similar DSP campaign where your cost per detail page view is less than your average cost per click? So that's just a way to get more traffic going to the pages for more cost effective amount. We see this a lot in categories like supplements, pet treats. Cost per clicks are really expensive, but you might be able to get a CPDV, sorry, cost per detail page view, for a third or half of the price,
Right.
based on the targeting. So something to think about.
So with this transition that is again a little bit more traditional than just Amazon, one of the issues has been changing the perceptions of those that have only worked on Amazon, where they are very comfortable with tacos, total advertising cost of sale, where it's just how much did we spend and how much do we return, right? And
Right.
I think that's going away a little bit. I think the brands are doing a better job of educating people internally. We're doing a better job of showing of educating our partners on like how that's not really the thing to measure all the time. Um, so from your perspective, what are the good measurements? And like you said, obviously it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, and it depends on the stage of the product. But just in general, if you think about the funnel and then the different campaign types that we're running, what are some of those other KPIs that you're looking at that aren't just ROAS?
Yeah. So it goes back to the goals exactly. And so just thinking about what each piece, I like to think about it as like a machine or the ecosystem of like each campaign plays a certain role that works together with the rest. So if your awareness is this big wheel, I'm just thinking of like a mill or something like that, maybe a bad analogy, but like its goal is to move the water through the pipes or something like that. Apparently it's the 1500s that I'm talking about. But and so it's really about setting those goals at each of those campaigns so you understand that like if this campaign is driving this amount of traffic, our goal is traffic, it's helping us do this, then this one comes in to kind of pick up the baton and help with the education. And so that looks like click through rate, engagement, brand searches, things like that to show that the shopper is learning or wants to know more about the brand. And then obviously we get to that conversion phase where we're looking at not just return, but conversion rate, because that is like a really big factor in the overall algorithm for Amazon. They want to make sure that when people get to those pages, they're more likely to convert because Amazon is customer centric. And if they're not converting at the right rate, it can be challenging to scale. So just really focusing on how do we improve that conversion rate. And then over time, the ROAS, the ACOS, the tacos, we would expect to see those improve over time if we're looking at what each campaign's role is and focusing on those KPIs.
Yeah. So before we end this one, I want to talk
Yeah.
a little bit about the non-Amazon ads portion of it and
Yeah.
how what you're doing with your team ties into the other, I'm going to call it organic or the non-paid pieces of Amazon and how those are also really important. So going back to a potential new product launch, can you talk about like how the paid efforts and the organic efforts are still coming together through the entire funnel and the importance of each?
Yeah, so the paid is when we're looking at the Amazon flywheel, text relevancy, pricing, inventory, and sales volume. Those are like the big four in terms of what helps that flywheel gain momentum. And where advertising comes in is with the sales volume, right? So it's increasing the visibility, it's increasing the awareness, getting more traffic going to those pages, and ultimately getting people to convert is going to help that wheel start to turn. And once Amazon is taking notice, or the algorithm is taking notice that there's an increase in conversion and traffic, it's going to start to support the organic placement. And so it's like, oh, people are interested in this product. We're seeing this traffic increase here. Let's move it up the page a little bit more to see if we can get more traffic on it. And that's how those two kind of play together. And then when we're looking at the overall business, we're always looking at what is the ad sales driving versus what are the total sales, and what does that ratio look like? And so to start, we would expect with a new product launch, for example, that ads are going to be making up 60 to 80% of sales for maybe the first couple of months until the algorithm kind of kicks in, takes notice, and it starts to kind of flip in terms of you see 60% coming from organic, 40% coming from ads. And that's where we say like, okay, we've kind of reached that evergreen level, if you will.
Yep.
It's always different for each brand, but that's kind of the rule of thumb there.
Yeah. I think one of the things I've seen recently in these new product launches is, and you're talking about the flywheel of like how paid boosts organic, but
Correct.
also making sure that the paid and the organic creative and the brand messaging is pretty consistent is also
Yeah.
super important, right? So we have, for example, I know we were talking about earlier this week, an apparel brand that we work with. They had a new line of, I'll use something else like scrubs, right? They've never been in that scrub market. Well, it was really important that in from the brand awareness from your DSP campaigns to going to the Amazon brand campaign of seeing it be scrubs, then going to the PDP and having a really optimized scrub page to then clicking on the store and seeing that scrubs are featured on the first page of their Amazon store. Like all of that is really, really important. And again, as advertising gets more sophisticated and more expensive on Amazon, it's super important that the paid media teams, the creative teams, the copy teams, to your point, inventory pricing, yes, of course, are all coming together to see what is this like organic and paid customer journey look like across all fronts, whether they're paid or organic.
Absolutely. And with the additional capabilities on DSP and more brands using it for brand awareness, for not just on Amazon, but like for their brand overall, that creative like sequencing, I would call it,
Yeah,
is
that's the word.
essential. Because if they see it on through streaming first, and it's, you know, I'm trying to think of a theme, but it's theme A, and then they go to Amazon or they search the brand, they want to make sure they're having a consistent experience throughout, because it's just going to resonate with them. It's going to stick in their mind more. If it's disjointed, they're like, wait, was that the product I was looking at? Or is this, we want to make
Yep.
sure it's a consistent story from streaming all the way down to the brand store and product pages.
Right. And especially with new product launches, you have to rely on paid to get theme A in of top of funnel, be
Right.
in theme A when they get to consideration once they get to Amazon, because naturally the evergreen, the old products, those are the ones that are going to be up at the top of the page. So if you're not using the
Exactly.
advertise with theme A, they're going to go to see theme A at streaming, get to the page and now see your evergreen products. And now you've got another sale on your evergreen product, but you didn't accomplish what you wanted on your new product launch or your new theme product line or whatever it is.